Row, row, row. Oh, sorry. I thought we were doing another round.
I love rounds.
I do too.
Like
Really
from
fun.
Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
Make new friends, but keep the old.
Fake news. Keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. Wow. I did not know that was still in my brain. I'm not going to lie to you.
Listen, I think we should start a girl band.
Okay. I would love to, actually.
It'll be our new passion project.
I'm here for it. I'm ready. We just got to name it. I don't know if I can come up with that at the top of my head like that. Green gas.
Keebler's Elves. Oh, Lord. So anyway, I'm Miara.
I'm Morgan.
And we are...
Mysteriosities. Shut me down the street.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so...
One is silver and the other's gold.
That's not how it goes.
I know, I did a little remix.
Wiki wiki.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we're getting started.
We've
had some Weenie Wonder and some Starbucks, and we're ready for action.
Yeah. Love them.
Love them, love them, love them.
Love them, love them.
If you don't have a Weenie Wonder in a town near you, you're missing out on mac and cheese on your hot dogs.
And jalapeno relish.
I haven't had the jalapeno relish.
So good. Anyway, I'm surprised you don't like relish because you love pickles.
Maybe it's one of those things that I used to hate but haven't tried recently.
Yeah, probably.
Because I used to hate so much.
Yeah,
so
I never
much.
used to like pickles.
I mean, I always have liked
but
pickles.
now I love pickles.
I've always liked pickles, but I've always assumed I don't like relish, which I guess doesn't really make sense. But,
yeah, it doesn't make sense.
But I mean, I used to hate so many things. I used to hate so many things.
Yeah.
But relish is just one thing I've never retried, so maybe I'll try jalapeno relish next time I get a weenie from Weenie Wonder.
Like it.
Sponsor us, Weenie Wonder.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we talking about?
So we are talking about Bible John.
I know nothing about that, which I'm actually very excited to know nothing about it.
Well, let's get started then. He is an unidentified serial killer in Glasgow, Scotland between 1968 and 1969.
Okay, so we're back in time a little bit again. We're in Scotland, and we're back to serial killers after a hearty break from them for a couple weeks.
Yes, because your bitch loves a serial killer.
But we did need a break after how we had our, really dark episodes for a minute.
Yeah. Bible John is known as one of the most hunted men in Scottish history.
Okay.
Fun fact. The case of Bible John would be the first time in Scottish history in which the Crown Office authorized publication of a composite drawing of an individual wanted for murder.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
The first time.
First time.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Like why they weren't doing it before, or is that the first time they thought about doing it, or what? That's interesting.
I think it's because they were having such a hard time finding him. So they're like, well, this is all we got, and we have a pretty good idea that this is what he looks like.
Right.
And I'll tell you why later.
Okay.
Bible John's MO was he went after young women with brunette hair between the ages of 25 and 32.
Oh, you.
You too. Yeah,
I'm
you're
not a brunette.
Oh. Well,
technically.
yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
my hair borders on different colors, but I don't think
a
serial killer would call me brunette.
Yeah, no, you're not really brunette.
Because when a serial killer has like a hair preference, I feel like they're gonna stick to that. Like brunette, no. I mean, I dyed my hair brunette once, but that would have counted. But
yeah, I was mostly thinking age anyway, because that's the last thing I read. So I was like, Bring.
I was thinking about all of it.
I lasered on. So he would find his victims at the Barrowland Ballroom.
Okay, is that like a bar?
So the Barrowland Ballroom was located in Glasgow City Centre, so like downtown Glasgow. The building included large street-level halls that were used for weekend markets, and then a weatherproof hall above. The Barrowland Ballroom is used mostly as a concert venue now.
Okay, still
And
there.
it is known for its acoustics and its dance floor.
Okay, we love acoustics in this house.
Yeah, it'd be fun, minus Bible John. But he hasn't attacked since then, so it's fine.
He's probably dead by now.
Yeah. I'll be safe. He was known as Bible John due to his repeatedly quoting from the Bible and condemning any form of adultery while in front of his final victim.
Okay.
And I'm like, bro, you have room to talk because...
Thou shalt not murder and all that.
Right. Thou shalt not kill. It's number 6 of the 10 Commandments.
Don't you feel like that should be number 1?
You'd think.
You would think.
Let's talk about his victims. He had 3. So
And wait, what was the time period again?
The late 60s. So
how many years?
Only 2.
Okay, so 3 and 2 years.
So the first was February 23rd, 1968. 25-year-old Patricia Docker was found in the doorway of a lockup garage, which I'm assuming is like, I didn't know what it was, but I would assume it's like one of those like storage things. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, I was thinking like a parking garage.
Or like maybe
but
a
like
parking garage.
the kind where you have to pay to get in, so
Maybe.
you can't just wander inside.
But
of
it's,
it.
I mean, it's a Scottish thing, so I wasn't quite sure.
A garage located in a separate area from residential buildings, especially ones that may be rented.
Okay.
So I think I'm kind of right.
So like
not just a public parking garage, like a building's parking garage.
Right. Patricia Docker was an auxiliary nurse, and she was married and had 1 child. She was estranged from her husband at the time, and he was in the Royal Air Force, I think they said, something like that, one of the services. Well, the night of Patricia's murder, she told her parents that she would be at the Majestic Ballroom on Hope Street dancing. But she ended up actually changing plans after that, and she ended her night at the Bearland Ballroom, which was hosting an over 25s night, which I kind of read into that a little bit. And they said that it was like one of those, like, you wouldn't really say your real name and you would go there kind of like in secret to meet other people looking for something other than their spouse.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, kind of spicy. So nobody really ever told people their real names, and it was just kind of like one of those better left unsaid types of places.
Yeah.
So that's probably why she didn't tell her parents that that's where she was going. But she never returned home that night. So her parents weren't that concerned because they were like, well, maybe she stayed with a friend, you know? And then after investigating, police found that late in the evening was when she left the Majestic Ballroom and went to the Bearland Ballroom, where she ultimately met her killer. Her body was found only yards away from her home in Langside Place. She had extensive blunt force trauma to her face and head, and she was strangled to death with a strong ligature. They believed it may have been like a belt.
Well, if you're kind of going to spring a murder on somebody, that's what you would have.
Yeah.
And especially if you were like going to a spicy place and maybe taking your belt off because you're taking your pants off. And
then this
you
first
have a weapon
one
that doesn't look like a weapon.
This first one is different than the other 2 in terms of what he used to kill them.
Okay.
But the other 2 make sense too. Also, Patricia's handbag, her watch, and her clothes were missing from the crime scene. Police never did find Patricia's clothing, but her handbag turned up from the River Cart, which is a tributary of the River Clyde in Scotland.
Okay.
By an underwater search unit.
So he probably dumped
he
her
dumped
clothes too, and they just didn't find them.
But they never did find her handbag. And then her watch was found in a pool of water not too far away from her body.
Wait, so they found her clothes, but they didn't find her handbag?
Right.
Okay, so they found the clothes in the river.
Right, yeah. I did that backwards. They never found her handbag, but they found her clothes in the river.
Okay,
yes.
so he probably maybe dumped the handbag too, and they just didn't find it.
And remember that for later. That'll be important.
Okay.
So, an autopsy, or what the Scottish say, post-mortem. That's what they call autopsies there. Thought that was kind of cool.
Well, they kind of call it that here too.
Post-mortems?
Post-mortem examination.
Yeah, I guess so. But I hear autopsy more.
It's still cooler.
But an autopsy was conducted by Gilbert Forbes at the University of Glasgow Medical School. He confirmed that the cause of death was strangulation, and according to him, he believed that Docker's body didn't have any clear evidence of sexual assault.
Okay.
But her clothes were off, and they believed that she was raped in most cases, but he said no.
Okay.
So that was weird. But based on the rigor mortis of Patricia's body at the time, they believed she was killed shortly after leaving the Bearland Ballroom. Investigators believed that the killer grabbed Patricia and then repeatedly punched and kicked her in the face and then proceeded to rape her before strangling her to death and leaving her naked body just laying there. And then the only thing they found right there was a shoe at the time.
Her shoe?
Yeah.
Just one shoe?
Just one shoe. So that kind of sounds like if he took the time to like take everything and dump it, he was in a hurry because he missed a shoe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he sounded like he was like kind of frantic.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be that hard to see a shoe.
Right. So the police went door to door in the area trying to see if anyone saw or heard anything. There was one witness who told the police that they remembered hearing a female scream, "Leave me alone," just the night before.
People love to like hear things and then
But
like,
not
do nothing
anything
about it.
I'm like, what are you doing?
Like, how do you hear "leave me alone" and be like, it's probably nothing.
Right.
I'm gonna go back to sleep.
But then, like, I mean, I guess it was late in the night. I don't know. Like, I feel like I can't really say what I would do because I've never been in that situation.
I know what I would do. I would go outside and I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? I wouldn't go up to them because that's
Right.
dangerous. But even if you go out the door and yell,
But, like,
you're alerting that you're there, which could scare a bad person away.
or they could come after you.
Yeah, but you would see
See,
them
I
coming.
feel like I would be such a scaredy cat. I don't know.
But I'm talking
I would
about like
probably-
from your doorway, not like approaching
Yeah,
them.
I know, but still.
You would
like, if
see
they-
him if he started coming after you.
Yeah, but he could, like, beat your door down and then kill you, too. I don't know. Maybe
You would
I'm-
have so much time to like close your door and lock it if he started coming towards you.
I know, but if he's crazy enough, he could beat
And
down
why
the
would he
door.
leave the person he's attacking to come after you? Then he leaves a chance for her to escape, and then he still gets caught.
Right. I guess that's true.
He would just run if he was smart.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking about it like he already did it. But yeah, that wouldn't make sense.
If he already did it, I still feel like he'd run because he's
Yeah.
a better chance of getting away than what if he goes after you and now there's a whole ruckus. And
That's true.
I just feel like if
That's
I
true.
heard somebody yelling, "Leave me alone," I would open the door and be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Right.
So that person knew there's somebody there.
Yeah.
And then if you didn't hear an answer, be like, "I'm gonna call the police."
Right.
Like, I'm not saying I would go anywhere near it because I could not help somebody like physically,
true.
but you could alert that you're there and that could help.
I kind of like think about this all the time too because like living in an apartment complex, I hear kids screaming and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Like just the other day on Friday, I heard these kids playing back behind the our apartment, like in the back, and they were playing and kicking around a ball and stuff, and they were screaming and carrying on, and I'm like, they're just playing, you know, but like how, you know, it's, I was sitting there thinking like, what if one of them was in distress? What would I do? You
And
know,
that is one thing about that too, is there are definitely times where you can't tell if something is
Right.
bad. And in that case, I don't know what I would do. But if
Right.
it's something like "leave me alone," that's
Yeah.
pretty like
Clear cut.
you know what's going on.
Right.
Or
and
like
I would like
help.
to think that like you can hear actual distress in somebody's voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that.
But no, I definitely like if it was something like you always hear kids screaming and
Right.
then you hear kids screaming and then later you're telling the police like, "Oh yeah, I heard screaming and then I went back to sleep." I wouldn't judge that because you're like,
Right.
you always hear them screaming and how could you know the difference?
That's true.
But in that case, I'm like, leave me alone. It's pretty clear, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Probably should have like gone and yelled out the window or something.
Right.
I mean, I'm not judging. That's just my take. That's just what I think I would do.
Yeah. I just don't know. I would hope I would help. Do what I can. But I don't know.
Who knows? Hopefully you never have to find out.
Yeah. Tonight it's gonna happen. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so very little evidence was found at the murder scene, but the ambulance man who retrieved Patricia told the investigators that she had been a nurse at Mearnskirk Hospital in Renfrewshire. So he knew her from like probably taking people to the hospital, and he's
Right.
like, I know her, she works there, but he didn't know her name. So Patricia's father actually ended up having to be the one to formally identify her the next day.
I don't want to ever have to identify anybody
That's
ever.
so, that would be so heartbreaking. And like obviously seeing her in that condition because like her face was beaten and yeah. So that was the first victim, and that was February 23rd of 68.
Okay.
Now we're skipping to August 16th, 1969.
Oh, so long skip.
18 months.
Okay.
which is weird for a serial killer.
Weird, but if it's a first kill, usually that's a longer cooling off period. And we're saying if he forgot his shoe, he was frantic. So maybe it didn't go exactly the way he'd planned, and so he was too freaked out to do it again super soon.
So 32-year-old Jemima McDonald's body was discovered in a dilapidated apartment building.
Okay.
Jemima was a mother of 3, and she decided to attend the Barrowland Ballroom to spend her evening dancing. I'm
Dancing
like, get it,
away.
girl. That's
Hell
so much fun. Her sister, Margaret O'Brien, said that she would take the 3 kids to watch them for the evening. They always had an agreement that they would do that for each other. And witnesses stated they saw Jemima around midnight with a young, well-dressed, and well-spoken man.
Okay.
He was described as having a slim build between 25 and 35 years old and between 6 foot and 6'2". He also had short reddish brown hair with light streaks and spoke with a distinct Glaswegian accent, which is like the most common accent in Glasgow.
Right.
It's also said that he would occasionally include brief biblical quotes into the conversation, which is weird.
Which would be my first red flag.
Right. It's also kind of like holier than thou. Like, oh, you just think you're more, you know what I mean? It's
I would be like,
patronizing.
Bye.
Can't trust you.
Yeah. Like, sorry, we're at a ballroom dancing.
Right.
We're not at church actually. Thank you though. Good luck teaching. Good luck teaching Sunday school.
Right.
Keep your lessons to the classroom.
Right.
Sir, just because you bought me a drink doesn't mean that I need to hear about the 10 Commandments.
It was the Old Testament, we come to find out later. But also when the investigators went door to door asking if anyone had seen or heard anything along McKeith Street, a woman remembered hearing a female screaming but could not recall the time it happened. But it was the evening of McDonald's murder.
And we go back to what we were just talking about.
Yep.
Again, though, I will say a vague scream, too. Right. You could scream, like, if your friend runs up on you and scares you. Like, there's...
Right.
That's or my thing, is, like, screams are... Like, if I was ever in distress, I hope I have the wherewithal to remember this conversation that we're having, because I just feel like if you have to scream something that makes it very clear that you need help. Like, I know that some people say, like, it sucks, but you're not even supposed to scream help. You're supposed to scream fire because people don't help women because they suck. But I just feel like at least if you're gonna scream, if you have to, if you're like in danger, it's too easy to write off just a scream. Mm-hmm. It's like I said earlier, it's not as easy to write off like leave me alone or like get away from me or like words where somebody hopefully would hear that and be like, okay, something's definitely wrong. Right. Whereas you don't know. Like, remember in the Natalie Wood episode when we were talking about how somebody heard...
And she was, like, in the water.
Heard somebody in the water.
Yeah.
And then they thought that they were, like, maybe just joking around.
Right.
I just feel like if you ever need to yell in a dangerous situation, it just needs to be something... Kind of sucks, but it just needs to be something where people are going to take it seriously. It's too easy to write off a scream, especially if it's, like, a Friday night. People are fucking around.
Yeah, and like you think like drunks get loud and scream and just do stupid shit. So
I feel like I need to remember that in case I have
That's smart, yeah.
I mean, I know that people do say like don't yell help, but I'm
gonna come up with a code word and I'm gonna broadcast it out there and be like, if you ever hear me scream this, help me.
Watermelon lemonade.
I don't think people would take that seriously.
Oh, well then why do we need a code word?
I don't know. They probably wouldn't think. I don't know.
I'm just saying, leave me alone.
Right.
I'm surprised that
get away
that
from
first incident. I'm surprised that the person said that they heard that and didn't do anything. Because to me, that would be very hard to ignore.
Right.
That. Because how do you take that in any situation? Like, always are taking it as someone's being bothered by somebody. Right. They probably need help. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even if it was like a domestic situation.
Yeah, even if it was just a fight you're fighting on the street
people
and
could be concerned.
Yeah, that could still escalate. That's still enough of a reason to like. True. Anyway, I digress.
We'll stick with that.
So this time it was just hearing a scream.
Yeah,
and it's so easy to write off a scream. Mm-hmm. If it's like a Friday night and drunk people get loud and all that.
So she was last seen leaving the Barrowland Ballroom shortly after midnight, accompanied with the man witnesses saw her with shortly before. She was seen walking toward the direction of Main Street Orlandressy Street, which was the direction of her home, at about 12:40 a.m. Margaret, Jemima's sister, was very worried when her sister didn't return home. It was totally out of character.
Right, and she has kids that she's watching
And
her
she
kids for her.
like has never had issues with her before, like coming home to get her kids. So later that day, Margaret started hearing whispers about a body that had been found by young children leaving a rundown old apartment building on McKeith Street. So there was like rumors, but like police hadn't investigated or anything yet. They was just like kind of like from ear to ear, you know.
Right. Some neighborhood gossip.
They say that by Monday morning, I forget what day that actually happened, Friday or Saturday.
Probably, weekend night.
But Monday morning, Margaret just had this horrible feeling that all of the whisperings were true and it was her sister. So what does Margaret do? She's like, I'm going to go check it out.
I don't know why, but this part of this story sounds super familiar to me.
Huh.
I don't know why.
Maybe it was on something else. I don't know.
No, like the whole story doesn't, though. Just this part.
Interesting. So anyway,
unless there's just another situation where a sister like checked out a building where she heard there was a body, and
yeah,
like that's happened somewhere else.
Right.
But that specific part, like that sounds really familiar, and I don't know why.
So Margaret ended up finding Jemima's beaten body lying face down with her shoes and stockings laying beside her. And weird fact, she had been menstruating at the time. The first girl, come to find out, she was too.
Okay.
So an autopsy was conducted, and they found that Jemima was extensively beaten in the face and raped all before she was strangled with her own stockings. They determined her murder occurred about 30 hours before her body was found.
Okay.
Unlike Patricia Docker, Jemima's body was still fully dressed with just her undergarments ripped. So maybe he learned something from the first kill.
I was going to say, like, it took too much time.
Right. So maybe
and
that's
too much stuff to get rid of. So then you could argue you're leaving behind clothes that could have your DNA on it, but...
Yeah. But also, like, if you're raping somebody, that would have your DNA too.
Yeah,
DNA wasn't like a huge...
Okay.
I mean, it was, but not as big as it is now.
I guess I forgot it was the 60s.
So October 30th, 1969 is the next victim.
So much smaller gap.
Yes, and his last. 29-year-old Helen Puttock and her sister Jean Langford went to the Barrowland Ballroom. They ended up encountering a couple men there. Both of them said their name was John, which...
Common name.
And also, if people aren't telling people their real names there...
They're not being original.
Right. One of the Johns said that he was a slater and lived in Castle Milk, south of City Center.
A slater?
Slater, like a laying slate. So the other John did not disclose where he lived, but he was described as a well-spoken man.
Well, we've heard that before.
So all four of them just hung out for around an hour, and they all left at the same time to head home. The John who had been Jean's dance partner walked to George Square to catch a bus, and then Helen, Jean, and the other John, who was Helen's dance partner, all got a cab together. So then, Jean's house was reached first. She lived in Knightswood, and then the cab continued on towards Helen's home in Scottstown.
Knightswood is like a really cool place for it's got
like
a cool name.
Yeah,
it's a cool name.
It is cool. It's very Scottish sounding too.
Yeah.
Knightswood. Mm-hmm. If I could do a Scottish accent,
I know. I
would,
was just about to say that.
I literally can't.
I can't. I can do British, I can do Southern, I can do Hick Southern now, apparently. No offense but to the Hicks, but...
It's okay, I am one, so it doesn't offend me.
Yeah, like you, because you're welcome. I'm talking. That's where it came from.
Yeah.
But, like, when it comes to, like, then even attempting to do, like, Scottish or Irish, I can't.
And, like, I've been watching a lot of Outlanders, so you think that I could, like, copy it, but I can't.
I need to start trying. I want to be an accent girl, like Cameron, only he's a boy.
I'm going to tell him you said he's an accent girl.
He's just so good at accents.
He is good at them. Anyway, so the following day, a man was walking his dog in the Scottstown district of Glasgow and found Helen's body behind an apartment building. So it would have been Halloween. Her body was discovered by a drain pipe in the backyard of her Earl Street apartment. She was partially naked and found beaten in the face and raped, and then strangled to death with her own stocking.
So the stocking is a vibe that he's decided to keep up.
Her handbag's contents were scattered all around her body, but her handbag itself was missing.
A little weird, but
so
okay.
I'm thinking he keeps them as like a trophy. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, I mean, fair.
Helen had also been menstruating at the time, and her pad was left beneath her left arm.
Like an extra pad? Or like a...
Like her used pad.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, so that's weird.
That's weird, but also... No, I won't talk about it yet. I'll wait.
On the soles of Helen's feet were grass and weed stains, which indicated that she'd try to run and get away from her attacker, and she fought hard. At one point, it looked as if she attempted to climb a nearby railway bank, but she didn't get away. She also had a deep bite mark on her upper right thigh, which is weird. Jean informed the police about Helen's mysterious dance partner. And, like, if something ever happens to me, I want a Jean in my life because she, like, made notes of what this guy was like. She paid attention, which, like... I'm guilty of, like, not totally paying attention to stuff. Like, I can notice if somebody is being sketchy or something, but, like, all of the details that she got and was able to provide the cops, she was really helpful.
Well, I'll say right now, and this might be really, really weird, or maybe it's not, and people will be like, no, that's normal. But I'm really bad with, like, faces. I don't pay attention to the detail. Like, people...
Right.
I don't want to say that people are just, like, blurry people to me, but, like, I don't pay attention to, like, features. And, like, at work... Good example of that would be like if I'm like bartending and somebody leaves, like if a guy's sitting at the bar and then he leaves and then somebody else sits and I don't see that happen, I won't even register that as like a new face.
Okay.
I'll be like, oh, there's a guy there, that's that guy. It's a completely different guy, but I'm not paying attention to facial features.
Yeah.
And so I don't even go over to them for like 10 minutes because I don't realize that they're a new person because I'm like, no, it's just that guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't even pay attention.
Oh.
To like facial features. So I'm not your girl for that.
I have to find somebody else.
Yeah, literally sorry. I mean I don't know why, but like
what if I get kidnapped at Barnes and Noble?
I'll start paying attention to Barnes and Noble. But nobody would kidnap anybody in Barnes and Noble because book people
are cool people.
Cool people.
Cool people, book people.
Yeah.
Okay, so she said that John was a teetotal individual, which I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I just slowly
It's spelled Teetotal. So I looked it up. Teetotalism is when a person is completely abstinent from alcoholic beverages and promotes that lifestyle to others. He told them the reason he did not consume alcohol was due to having strict parents growing up. And Jean recalls John saying, I don't drink at Hogmanay, I pray. And Hogmanay is how the Scots refer to the last day of the year, so like New Year's.
Oh, okay.
And then Jean said that this mysterious John, who I'm just going to start calling Bible John now, but she said that he quoted the Old Testament stories of Moses while they all rode together in the cab, which, like, weird. Like... Weird flex, bro.
Just a strange conversation topic to have.
And then John referred to the Barrowland as, in quotes, an adulterous den of inequity. Like, so why were you there?
You were hanging out there,
if you're so high and mighty, why were you there?
Going there to save people.
Crazy. He also expressed his disapproval of married women visiting the area while they all grabbed their coats to leave for the evening.
Got a lot of opinions, and nobody asked.
Right.
No, not one person asked,
so
John.
Judgy.
Not one person asked.
Jean also said that the man had indicated to them that he was neither Catholic nor Protestant.
What does that even leave?
There's a lot of different, there's Methodist.
Okay, I forgot about Methodist.
Baptist. there's all that, but, I'm like, he probably grew up Catholic, which is my thought. I don't know for sure, but...
yeah. That's pretty common. Like, isn't that a pretty big, probably, portion of Christianity in Scotland?
Yeah.
There's, like, a lot of Catholics in Scotland, I thought.
Right. There is.
That's like when we were talking about the Titanic. That's when we were talking about the Titanic, remember? And then there's that shipyard that, drove off all the Protestants. Yeah. And they were all Catholic. Wait, no. Or was it opposite? No. I don't remember. But they drove all of one off.
Right.
I don't remember what direction it was.
I know what you're talking about. Jean also recalled specific details about Bible John.
She's not like me.
She said he was slim, tall, and well-dressed in what looked like a brown-tailored Reed & Taylor brand suit.
So she's also a fashionista.
Yeah, Reed & Taylor's a pretty popular suit company for men. He also smoked Embassy cigarettes, which, as a interesting detail that she remembered. Yeah. She remembered him saying that he had worked in a laboratory at some point in his past, and that his last name was something like Simpleton or Templeton or something like that. She also remembered a very distinct facial feature that he had overlapping front teeth, which comes into play later.
Okay.
Also remember the bite mark.
I was just thinking about that.
Another sighting of the possible suspect was made by both a driver and conductor of a night bus service. And all I could think is Stanley Shunpike.
The night bus.
The
capital
night bus.
KNIGH.
But they said that they saw a man matching what Jean's description of Bible John was, getting off a bus at the junction of Dumbarton Road and Gray Street around 2 a.m. on October 31st, which would have been that same time. They said that he looked very disheveled, with mud stains on his jacket and a very prominent red mark on his cheek beneath his eye. And they also noticed that he kept tucking his cuff of one sleeve into his jacket sleeve. And this is important because a man's cufflink was found beside Helen's body.
Oh, okay.
So the last time this man was seen, he was walking towards the ferry to cross the River Clyde, traveling to the south side of the city. Now, I mean, she obviously fought. Mm-hmm. So, like, the fact that this guy was disheveled and he had mud stains on him, and they said that she tried to climb an embankment, like...
Right.
It all checks out.
Cufflink, potentially.
Right. So...
Sleeve is ripped. He's got a mark on his face.
Right. Those were the victims.
Okay.
It was Patricia, Jemima, and Helen. And then Jean Langford was Helen's sister. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so now we're getting into the investigations. So, in the beginning of the city of Glasgow's police investigation, they did not attribute Patricia Docker's death and Jemima McDonald's murders to be the work of the same killer, even though they had many similarities.
I'm Minerva.
Shall we go over them?
Obviously.
So, both women attended the Barrowland Ballroom the night they were killed. Both had been beaten brutally. Both had been strangled to death with a ligature of some sort. Both women were menstruating at the time, and both women's handbags had been taken.
There's definitely more similarities than there are differences.
Right. So, for Patricia Docker's investigation, her case quickly turned into a cold one due to lack of evidence, hard evidence, and witnesses. The investigators also did not find out that Patricia had went to the Barrowland Ballroom until 3 days after her body was found, which definitely altered their investigation.
As it would, right?
Mm-hmm. And then 18 months after Patricia Docker's body was found, Jemima McDonald was killed, and the police did notice all the similarities, but they were not quick to attribute the murders to the same person right away. Why?
They're like literally identical.
Like... I don't understand. So, they did believe that with both of the murders, the killer had to be pretty familiar with the local geography, but probably a stranger to the district because none of the witnesses that police spoke with knew the man or men seen with either woman before their murders.
Okay.
After Jemima McDonald's murder, the eyewitness who saw the man she was with helped investigators with a composite drawing of the man.
We're at the drawing.
Which we will post that on Instagram. This was the first time in Scottish history that a composite sketch was printed in newspapers and shown on television throughout Scotland in order to help investigators identify the suspect. And then after Helen Puttock was murdered, her sister helped them create another composite sketch of the suspect. Jean saw the earlier image of the suspect that killed Jemima McDonald and said it was a very close likeness to the man she believed to have killed her sister. Superintendent Joe Beatty asked the public to study the composite drawing to see if they recognized the man. And this man, Joe Beatty, he was all in on this case. Like, he never gave up. Even, like, once he retired, like, that case still haunted him because he was so into it, trying to find out who the killer was. Joe Beatty decided that since the man's hair was cut so short, which was rare for the time period because it was the late 60s, everybody had that shaggy haircut, he would circulate the drawing to over 450 hairdressers in and around the Glasgow area. I'm like, that's pretty smart.
It is smart. I think
because,
that's
like,
smart.
Since it's uncommon, people would remember if they gave somebody a short haircut.
Yeah.
Which I'm also thinking, like, this wasn't discussed, but I'm like, could it be military?
True.
Yeah, I don't know. But dentists were also asked to look through their records to see if they had any records of a male with overlapping front teeth and a missing tooth in the upper right jaw.
Oh, they knew about a missing tooth?
I guess so.
From the bite, maybe?
Maybe. It's just kind of weird. Like, was he gnawing on? I don't know. Because, like, when you bite, it's like... I guess I was thinking all the way in the back. It might not be all the way in the back. It might be like an upper right.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, all good ideas, but nothing was ever found.
Those were good ideas, though.
Very good ideas. And then police provided surveillance for a while at the Bearland Ballroom, but stopped in late October of 1969 due to no suspects being identified. But then Helen was murdered, right after that. So I'm wondering if that's why he kind of stopped.
I was going to say, like, did he know that the investigation had stopped somehow and then was like, okay, we're good now?
But also the owners of the Bearland Ballroom blamed the police presence for taking a toll on their attendance numbers.
Yeah, because capitalism. Well, we're in Scotland.
But also, I'm like, maybe people were scared because two people, you know what I mean?
Like, I don't care how much I like a place. If people were getting murdered there, I would go somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. So then over 100 detectives were assigned to work full-time on this case. Around 50,000 witness statements were taken from going door to door asking anybody if they've seen or heard anything. More than 5,000 potential suspects were questioned in the first year alone. And Jean Langford was a part of over 300 identity parades. Can you imagine looking at that many people trying to find the person that killed your sister?
First of all, yeah, that's horrible. Second of all, as we already discussed, I don't look at faces.
I know, you're like,
I'd be like, that could have been him. That could be my mailman. That could be...
Right.
That could be my grocer. Could be my next door neighbor. I don't know.
Right. She said that she was absolutely sure none of the men in the multitude of identity parades were the man that Helen left the Bearland Ballroom with. She knew for a fact.
And she was paying attention.
She was.
She 100% knew.
Details were hella intense. Like, very extensive. Despite their exhaustive efforts, the 3 murder cases turned cold. Some thought that the killer may have died, been jailed for a different crime, or had been admitted to a mental hospital. Some think that the senior detectives knew who he was, but were unable to prove it. So others thought he may have moved away from the Glasgow district, or that he didn't live in the area and only committed the murders when he visited the area.
Fair.
Because of this speculation, police decided to send out multiple copies of the composite drawing of the suspect to all British Army, Navy, and Air Force bases in the UK, Europe, and the Middle and Far East. Still nothing came of it. So now we're getting into suspect time.
It's suspect time.
Yeah. So the first one we call John White. That's in quotes.
Not to be confused with John White, the governor of the Roanoke colony. In 15, whatever.
Was it John White?
Yeah.
Oh, forgot.
That was only a week ago.
I know, but my memory is trash. So, a former detective, cheese inspector.
Inspector of all cheeses.
Inspector of the cheese.
I love cheese. That would be a great job.
A former detective, Chief Inspector Les Brown, had given details of an arrest of a suspect in 1969, which he believed was a very close likeness to the perpetrator of the crimes. This man ended up being dismissed because he did not have overlapping front teeth.
What if he got them fixed?
Maybe. The reason this man was arrested to begin with was due to an incident at the Bearland Ballroom. Apparently, he was arguing with a young woman at Bearland, and it was concerning to the police, so they're like, this might be the guy, let's take him in. He also looked very similar to the composite drawing that was circulated through Scotland. He then lied to the police about what his real name was and what his real address was, which they were like, that's super sus. Why are you lying to us about stuff? But maybe he's just sketchy in another way.
He could just be a sketchy dude, yeah.
Maybe he's a drug dealer. I don't know.
He could be a drug dealer.
So, several years later, Les Brown spoke to a detective who had taken the same man to a hospital after arresting him outside the Bearland Ballroom at the time of the murders because he had a laceration on his head to where he needed stitches after an altercation of some kind. Weird. Unless he got into like a fight with another man. As soon as they released him from the handcuffs in the hospital, he escaped. He ran away. He also provided a false name to the medical personnel and called himself John White. So ultimately, Les Brown never let this go. He wrote of his suspicions of John White in his 2005 autobiography, which actually caused the man who was known as John White to come forward and give DNA in order to clear his name and prove his innocence. And that ended up eliminating him as a suspect. So he's like, bitch, I said it wasn't me. And it wasn't. Poor John White. He wasn't the guy.
Yeah, because he finally gave DNA to be like, yeah, I'm not the guy. I'm just sketchy.
Yeah. I'm just
and he definitely
gentleman.
is definitely sketchy.
He was sketchy, like all of that stuff, like giving the wrong name, giving the wrong address, and then when he was taken to the hospital, he
also gave
ran
the wrong
away.
name. Maybe he was just hiding from somebody though. Like maybe he's not even sketchy. Maybe he's in like Scottish witness protection.
Yeah, it could be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't have proof that he ever did anything bad. So,
That's true.
maybe he was given a different name for some other reason.
Sorry, John White.
Sorry, John White. Not
Anyway.
to be confused with the governor of Roanoke.
Maybe he's a time traveler. They didn't want people to know.
We've just connected our two stories.
That's right.
What are the odds?
So then another possible suspect was in 1983, there was a man contacted. Jesus, I can't read.
You can read. That's why we're going to the bookstore after this.
So in 1983, a man contacted the Strathclyde police claiming that he knew his friend was Bible John.
Okay.
I'm like, bro, you waited this long?
Yeah.
But anyway, he said that both him and his friend were raised in the Cranhill district of Glasgow, and they would go to the Barrowland Ballroom a lot in the 1960s. He claimed that he read an article 5 years before from the Evening Times, and that's when he realized his friend had been the suspect in the drawing. The alleged suspect was traced to the Netherlands, and he was married to a Dutch woman, but then nothing was ever heard from the friend or the alleged suspect again, which is weird. Like, when you, like, look up his friend and, like,
Yeah, but
you're
also...
like, does he look like Bible John? I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess also you could argue that's just some guy saying something, like,
Yeah.
with no evidence or
That's
anything
true.
at all to back it up, except for him being like, it was my friend, like, because we went there.
Right, that's true.
That's not really, it's not compelling. That's not like...
But, like, they obviously investigated it enough for this to be part of, like, the suspect line.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, I want to know a little bit more. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
A lot of Grease today. Well, the one was in our sound check. So...
Is that what that was from?
You're the one I don't want. That was the one from sound check. And then the one that I just did was from Grease.
I've actually never
Summer
seen
Love.
Grease.
Summer lovin'.
That's a lie. I've seen Grease once.
I love Grease.
Maybe.
I used to watch it all the time.
Actually, I'm not confident that I've ever seen it.
I love Grease.
I can't remember.
Anyway,
Sometimes I miss on things that like people are like, "What do you mean?"
right?
Just like Dirty Dancing.
You've never seen Dirty Dancing?
No.
That's a crime. I love Dirty Dancing. Both the movie and the act. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, who doesn't? Kiara, who
can't
doesn't
dance.
love Dirty Dancing?
So then the next suspect could have been the Hannah Martin rapist. So after the Bible John killings, many women came forward saying that they had been sexually assaulted after spending time at the Barrowland Ballroom.
Okay.
One woman in particular, Hannah Martin, claimed that she had been assaulted and raped by Bible John and gave birth to his child in January of 1970.
Okay.
Hannah said that in April of 1969, she went to the Barrowland Ballroom and she had met a tall man and then they had sex. Then the man offered to take her home, and she said during their drive home, the man's sexual demeanor became more aggressive. Hannah was scared and drunk, so she vomited in his car, and then he kicked her out because he was angry and just left her standing on the side of the road.
Oh yeah.
But
Mental
I'm
note.
like, good for you. But also, I was thinking, what if she wasn't killed because she was not on her period?
Could be. We don't know how that ties in.
Interesting.
We don't know how that ties in. But that is a super weird little fact that's in
And
there.
also, like, how do you know?
That's what I was going to say earlier.
Like, how do you find out? Is that just a question you bring up? Like,
That's what I was going to say earlier when I said, no, I'm not going to talk about
What's your
this
name?
yet.
How old are you? What's your star sign? Are you on your period? Like,
That's what I was going to say earlier, but then I was going to wait till we got more into, like, past that and, like, into this area. Because I think that's super weird. Like, how do you know that? Unless it's just, like, when you have sex with somebody and then you notice and then you kill them. Right. But then they were raped, not just sex,
that's what I'm saying is, like, if the other girls were willing, because they, like, I mean, he was a good-looking guy, and he was well-spoken, and they were willing to, you know, bang. But these other girls weren't willing because they were on their periods. You know what I mean?
True.
And, like, I feel like back then, I mean, I don't know. I feel like even now, like, it's like, ooh, period. Like,
period sex, not that common. Well, it's not common, but not common.
And, like, women were just supposed to be like, I'm a lady, and I don't talk about these things. And, you know. Anyway. So that was just my theorizing there.
That's fair.
And then the next suspect was John Irvine McInnes. In 1996, the Strathclyde police exhumed McInnes's body from his grave. McInnes was in the Scots Guards, and he had committed suicide in 1980 at the age of 41 by slicing his artery open in his arm.
Okay.
Ouch. His upper arm, too.
Not pleasant.
Anyway, so McInnes was a cousin of one of the original suspects in the Bible John case. So they were thinking, well, we'll use his DNA to kind of cross-examine with the DNA found at Helen Puttock's crime scene, like the semen that they found.
Right.
But the testing came back inconclusive, so the Crown officially cleared McInnes in July of 1996 of any involvement in the Bible John murders.
So glad they exhumed his body just to be like, nope,
right,
not you.
It ain't it. But, so now we're moving on to our last suspect.
Okay.
And his is a little bit more compelling, but also, like, I don't know. It's a weird case. So, this man's name was Peter Tobin, which his name sounded really familiar to me. And I'm like, maybe I heard about him somewhere.
Maybe. It doesn't
because he had killed other women.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Okay.
But many criminologists and investigators believe that convicted serial killer Peter Tobin was Bible John. Peter Tobin was convicted in May 2007 for the 2006 murder of Polish student Angelika Kluck. Angelika was raped, beaten, and stabbed to death. He had lived in Shettleston, Glasgow, before relocating to England in August of 1969 after he married his first wife. Fun fact, he met his first wife at the Bearland Ballroom in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
So, starting in August 1969, Tobin lived in Brighton for 20 years, and then he lived in either Scotland or south of England in the late 1980s. An investigation called Operation Anagram was initiated in 2006 to trace the movements of Tobin through the years to see if there could be a possibility that he committed other, like, similar crimes.
Right, because usually you're not starting to murder somebody that late in your life.
Right.
Like
because he was, what, in his 40s?
Well, I don't know, because
it'll say, I say it later.
Because that was what, you said it was like, what year did he murder somebody? Like 2000 something?
Well, they found, he was convicted in 2007 for the 2006 murder of...
Right, and he was found, he met his wife in 68.
Right.
So that meant he was old enough to be wife-finding.
Like in his 20s or 30s.
So he's probably in his 20s then, and so he's probably like 50.
Yeah.
60. You know, I'm bad at math.
Right.
Like 60s, right?
So
that's really late to be a first kill. Like, that doesn't really happen.
So several women came forward with claims about Tobin. One woman said that she had been raped by him at the Bearland Ballroom in 1968, shortly after the first Bible John murders occurred.
Okay.
Another woman remembered meeting Tobin at the Bearland Ballroom and having a threatening experience with him. He kept trying to get her to leave with him to go to a party, and she wouldn't go. When the woman was shown a photo of Peter Tobin from the late 1960s, she stated, and I quote, "He was the man who came up to me so many years ago in the Barrowlands. I am 100% certain that Tobin is Bible John."
That's a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
As we've discussed,
I mean, it's 100%.
I wouldn't be able to give that much confidence in a photo years later. I wouldn't even be able to give that much confidence in a photo the next day.
Yeah. 2 hours from now.
I'm just saying 100% seems a little high.
And then, here we go. In 1991, Tobin murdered 2 teenage girls and then buried them in a garden in the backyard of his home. The girls' bodies were found in 2007.
Okay, so it happened a little bit earlier and then it wasn't found until then.
This would have made Tobin in his 40s when he committed these murders of the 2 girls. So they're saying this is extremely rare for a person of Tobin's age to commit such calculated and thought out serial murders for the first time.
And
because
did
usually
he kill
it starts
them at the same time?
No.
Okay, I was going to say, because killing 2 people at once is also an escalation that wouldn't happen for a first.
And then investigators of these cases did not think that an amateur could have performed these murders. They were too calculated.
Exactly.
So which means he probably has killed before them. But nothing was ever linked. Although there is a slight discrepancy, Bible John displayed the victims' bodies, whereas Tobin buried and hid his.
Okay,
but was he doing that now because he was worried he was going to get caught?
I was going to say, you could argue so much time has gone by that one...
Right. Somebody can change their MO.
And he has a family if he has a wife, I'm assuming.
Right.
And he's older, and
True.
Maybe back then when he was young and reckless, he was like, oh, I want their bodies to be found. That would be fun for me. Mm-hmm. But now he's like, oh, I definitely don't want them to be found. You know what I mean? He's older, so he could be more stressed about being caught because he has more to lose than he did back then or whatever.
Makes sense.
That's definitely... Of all the things to change in an MO, I feel like that one...
would make the most sense.
Makes
it doesn't make that much of an impact of it being then that's not the case. That can't be him.
Yeah, exactly.
Type of thing. There are also some similarities in the appearance of Tobin in his 20s in the composite drawing done in Bible John. All 3 of Tobin's wives confirmed that he was a very abusive man.
3 wives.
Yep. They all shared that they were often imprisoned, beaten, and raped by Tobin. Okay. They also said that Tobin would become extremely angry and physically violent when they were on their periods.
Oh, it's him. It's him for sure.
Tobin was also a very religious man.
It's him.
Fits the bill.
There's no downsides. Does he have overlapping teeth?
No.
What's the color of his hair?
He had light colored hair. I mean, brown. It wasn't light, because they were saying reddish brown. Yeah. His isn't really reddish brown. It was more just brown.
Could have darkened with age.
But one of Tobin's pseudonyms he went by most commonly was John Simple.
Simpleton.
Which is similar to the name that Jean Langford thought she heard Bible John give. Simpleton.
And I was going to say, I didn't like that a lot of the suspects' names were actually John because it doesn't make sense for him to use his real name when nobody was using their real name.
Exactly.
So I like that we know that his name's Peter. It's not John.
So then investigator and criminologist David Wilson investigated Peter Tobin for 3 years, and he believes that Tobin is Bible John. Wilson states that the moment that he believed Tobin to be Bible John was during his trial for the 1991 murder of 18-year-old Dinah McNichol. During his trial, a testimony was given from an acquaintance of Dinah's who was with her the night she was abducted. The conversation they had reminded him of Jean Langford's telling. Both men stated they did not drink at Hogmanay, and also they claimed to have scored a hole-in-one at a golf match. Weird flex.
Weird flex.
And then David Wilson stated, this is a direct quote, "I didn't set out to prove Tobin was Bible John, but I would stake my professional reputation on it."
It just seems like there's no downers on it.
Here's where it kind of goes down.
Oh, there are downers. Okay, downers on the last page.
DNA testing has been used in the past to clear multiple suspects. But at this point, they were saying the physical samples have been deteriorating due to poor storage. And they didn't believe at the time that testing against Tobin's DNA would be conclusive, but they ended up doing it anyway later. But it says that although there are a lot of parallels with Tobin and Bible John, he has been eliminated as a suspect by police.
Why?
They found in Operation Anagram that when Tobin relocated to Brighton from Glasgow with his wife, it was actually before the second murder in the Bible John case occurred.
Okay, he could have come back.
Right. They also
Cars exist. Buses,
they also found that
trains.
he was in Brighton at the time of the final 2 murders. But it was from his first wife. She testified that they were still on their honeymoon in Brighton when Jemima McDonald was killed.
Yeah, but he was an ass for all of them.
So.
And maybe she just didn't want to, like, not lie for him and, like,
right.
have him be, like, pissed about it.
So, they also did end up testing Tobin's DNA against the semen found for Bible John.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that the analysis conclusively determined it was not from Tobin.
Okay, but they were just saying how they thought it was
deteriorating.
Yeah,
right.
Like, it was deteriorating. It was an old sample.
Right.
I don't think you can count that.
So then David Swindle, who is the senior investigating officer in charge of Operation Anagram, has stated that there is no evidence to link Tobin to the Bible John murder.
And I will say, fine.
It's all
because technically it is all a lot of, like, his wife say he's really horrible and he got pissed when they were on their periods and he's super religious.
Right.
And he went there and he met his wife there. There's not anything technically linking him, but I don't know. There's a point where circumstantial evidence stacks up to a point where it's kind of hard to believe that.
Right.
How could all of that be a coincidence?
Right. So here's just another few tidbits at the end here. We still don't know definitively if it was the same person who killed all these women, which
I think
pretty sure it was.
I think the last two obviously 100% definitely were.
Right.
I think there is a small, very small chance the first one could have possibly maybe been somebody else.
Right.
But I highly doubt it.
Right.
It seems
if it was the first kill, then it would make sense it was a little different.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue there's a small possibility because
right.
You know, it sucks to say, but, like, when you go to nightclubs and, like, stuff like that, there's, like, dangerous people around. There could be more than one dangerous person around.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I would say that there's similar enough that I'd find that very hard to believe.
Yeah.
Possible, but I doubt it. The last two, 100% the same person.
Mm-hmm. And then they also claimed the 18-month gap is strange for a serial killer.
That is strange. That is odd.
And then this is the one where I was like, oh. Jean Langford, Helen's sister, died in 2010 at 74 years old. She stated that Peter Tobin was not the man that rode home with her and her sister in the taxi.
Oh, and she's so good with it.
And that's when I was like, you know what? I don't know if it's him. All of that stuff, like, I was like, the same as you. Like, when we were getting the stuff where it's like, okay, it's not him. And I'm like, well, this could have happened. This could have happened to explain it off. But, like, Jean was so confident that it wasn't him.
I don't know. I still kind of think it's him.
But then I'm like...
Because did she say older. Why? Because if she said why, if she, like, went point by point, is like, this is why, and this is why, and this is why.
I didn't read that.
Then I would be like, okay. But if she's just saying that wasn't him, I'm like, maybe she's just tired.
And she's
older. And she's like, I'm not saying she would lie because, like...
Yeah, I don't think she was lying.
I just mean, like, I don't know that would write it off for me. That it wouldn't be him.
Maybe she's like the grandmother in Anastasia.
Yeah, exactly.
When she actually meets Anastasia and it is Anastasia and she's like, I'm tired of all this da-da-da. That's, exactly. You're not... Yeah, could be.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I still think it's him. It's him. Yep, I do. Yep,
you do?
Mm-hmm. I think it's him.
See, like, I was reading it, and I was reading all about him, and I'm like, man, this is him. This is him. And then, like I said, I was explaining everything off, and then I got to that part with Jean, and I'm like, damn it.
I still think it's him.
But I like your point that she could have just been, I mean, she is older, and she's probably just tired.
It's been her entire life. It was probably her entire life.
Her whole life, yeah.
Like, that she had to deal with that. And the guilt probably.
Right.
That she lived in and then her sister died.
And
like,
the way that the mind works, too, like, you kind of start, like, remembering your own truth.
Yeah.
Not saying that you're, like, making stuff up or you're lying on purpose, but, like, she went through 300 identity parades. That's a hell of a lot of people. All of these men that you're seeing. Like, and this isn't the same thing, but, like, when my old job, we would have to write a description of a family member just in case they didn't answer their text or something so we could go looking for them to tell them an update. Mm-hmm. And, like, I can't tell you how many times I wrote that somebody had glasses and they were not wearing glasses because so many people wore glasses that sometimes I just, like, put glasses on people. So, like, you know.
Yeah, the memory is strange.
It's weird. And also, like, a lot of times, like, people look different in photographs than they do, like, in person.
And also, you met him at a club.
Right, where it's
or
dark.
a ballroom. It's dark. You're in a cab. It's dark. You're on the
Right.
street. It's dark.
Right.
And now it's a man years and years after in a
Right.
photograph that's probably not dark.
Right. I think I agree with you. You've convinced me.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's my episode.
We rolled back into serial killers.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It was a lot, but I liked it. I do think there's a lot of weird stuff in that. The menstruating thing, super
Yeah,
strange.
that's really weird.
The 18-month gap between the first and the second kills, super strange.
Yeah. And then also, I will say this. I saw, you know how I said with Helen Puttock, like, they found her sanitary pad, like, her used pad beside her body. Well, when I was reading about the others, I didn't see that. But then one source I read said that they all had that. Either a tampon or a pad laying close to their body.
Well,
so I don't know how true that was.
I hate to go down a road of us just continuing to talk about period supplies, but you do have to consider the fact that since they were all raped,
right,
they probably would be away from
right.
the body in some respect. So
right.
it seems possible to me that they all would be like that, or at least probably the second two, since we know the first one had some differences. But
so I think, like, he wanted to obviously have sex with these women, and then they're probably like, no, I can't, I'm on my period, I don't want to do that, and it pissed him off and set him into a rage.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to get what he wanted, so he took it.
Hate that you can't go out to the ballroom without getting murdered, though.
Right.
Men. We just have a
ladies
only ballroom.
Yep.
Men.
Always ruining things for us.
Ruining it.
So, anyway, follow us on our social medias. We'll post some pics to go with our story.
Yes, we will. We will.
And also, please
what?
Rate and review us on iTunes. That's the only way that we'll get noticed.
Yeah, we'll get on some lists if y'all please leave reviews. And if they have words, we'll read them.
Yes, and Jamie already has done that, and we shouted her out, and we still appreciate her.
And she got her own episode, which we can do.
Get her own episode.
We can continue to do that now at this point. So if you have a topic and you want to shout out, this is the time. Because
rate and review us.
You know, we might not get to the point if we get famous.
Right.
Yara thinks that we will.
I think we will. I think we're going to be walking down red carpets by next year.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding. I'm not that glamorous.
The point is, this is the time where we're able to, like, shout people out and do episodes.
Right. And we really want to.
If we ever do get to continue to do this in, like, a more, like, fabulous fashion, there might come a time where that's harder to do. So this is the time, y'all.
Yep. We need you. So please rate and review us. And follow us on our social media.
And
interact with
Twitter.
us. It's fun. Thanks for listening. And we are Mysteriosities.